We're going to get started now. So I want to welcome you all to Chaos Online. Hopefully we got all the kinks worked out on everything now. Well, tonight is an exciting night. I have a big announcement to make at the end of this service, this online service, and the lesson that I have for you tonight is one that I'm sure is going to speak to each of us. But before we get into the lesson and the big announcement tonight, let's play a game. We're here, and so let's have some fun with it. I know that because of this whole COVID-19 thing, that messed up a lot of y'all's plans. So we're going to dream a little bit tonight. I'll share some of your dream destinations or some places that you wish you could go back to. But whenever I share them, I'll share them with a catch. And I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. And so we're going to play a game called Should I Stay or Should I Go? Not the song, the game. Should I stay or should I go? And so I'll share a destination or a place for you to go to. And after I tell you what the catch is, you tell me if you would still go there knowing what the catch is. I got it? So y'all can comment along and play along, and I'll be following along to see if I can read your comments and call some of y'all out on here. So let's get started with the first one. This is probably where all of you want to go on a beautiful rainy day like today. All right, first one. All right, you get to go to the beach, but you have to swim in jeans and a hoodie the whole time you're there. So, would you still do that? Would you still go, or would you just rather stay at home? And so comment below, let me know what you would rather do. Oh goodness, for me, if I had to swim in jeans and a hoodie the whole time, and I knew that ahead of time, that would probably be a deal breaker for me. Yeah, no thanks, gonna stay home. Yeah, that's probably what I would do too. That would just be miserable. I've, got caught off guard on rainy days and got soaking wet in jeans and a hoodie, and that's just no fun for anybody. And so, yeah, I'm gonna say I would stay. All right, next one. Gonna have mixed signals on this one. Go back to school. Yay, see all your friends. But you have to take a test every day that you're there. We'll say this, in every class. So for some of you, you've loved this whole pandemic thing, being stuck at home, and you don't want to go back to school. But for some of you, I know that you really miss school and your friends in that routine. So would you rather go back to school and experience everything that goes along with that, but have to take a test in every class, or would you just rather stay at home and do your AMI, whatever it is, the schoolwork that they send out? Imagine if they had to make a test every day, it wouldn't be that hard, so I'd go, Remy, you're probably right. They'd be like, oh, here we go again. What is your name? I don't know. I think some teachers would probably enjoy that and take advantage of it. Sam wouldn't go. Alex would go. There we go, McKenna. I was homeschooled and graduated. I don't even college, so nope. McKenna's staying home. There you go. Online classes only. She's taking her test at home. All right, here's the next one. This one will make you think. All right, would you go to Chaos, but everything is in Spanish, or would you just stay home? I don't know if Ashlyn is watching on here. Ashlyn probably like, sí, Chaos, or however you say Chaos in Spanish. It would be great to go back to Chaos, but I don't know if, you tell me if that would be a deal breaker for you. Everything in Spanish. Yes. Alex said no. McKenna said she'd go. Okay, that'll be fun. It would definitely be interesting. I would be able to pick up on a few words, but okay. Tanner stay home. Morgan would be there. I would probably just walk around with like a goofy grin on my face, not knowing what to do. But yeah, I'd go. Everything's in Spanish. I'd be like, hey, hola, ¿cómo está? And then I'd just smile and nod the whole time. All right, here's another one. Go to Florida, but it rains every day. Would you go, or would you just stay home if you knew that ahead of time? So Florida, there's beaches there, there's SeaWorld, there's Disney World, all sorts of stuff you could do. So would you go to Florida knowing that it was going to rain every day, or would you just stay home? Would you stay home? Well, I don't know if anybody's going to comment with this, but it is Florida, and so, I mean, it pretty much rains every day. Whenever I was in high school band and we went there on our big Disney World trip to compete when I was in high school, I think it rained every day of the trip, at least a little bit. I'd go to Disney, no lines. Well, yeah, but if you went to Disney World and it's raining, they're going to shut everything down while it's raining, except for, like, is it Epcot, where you get to visit all the countries and they have all the stuff? That might be all right inside. Yeah. Yeah, where you rains most days there anyway. It really does. It's Florida. All right, here's the last one. Would you go to church camp? Yay! But it's 100 degrees all day, every day. And I'm talking about, like, you wake up in the morning and it's 100 degrees, and then you go to bed at night, and after service when it's dark outside and you have snacks, it's still 100 degrees. Would you go to church camp and experience all the great stuff there, but have to deal with 100-degree temperatures? McKinley, yes. Alex, yes. Okay. Yeah, it'd be so tan. I think that's burnt. It was 100 degrees. That would be miserable. But for camp, I think I would, yeah, I'm saying I would find a way to deal with that. I would, especially if I knew it ahead of time. Like where you could get like a case of sunscreen for everybody. You know, that might be a little different. That would make it a little better. You know, everybody bring their own case or two of water bottles. I don't know. That would be fun. I would probably go. I'd find a way to make that work. All right. Well, that was fun to dream a little bit today. Well, let's go on and get into the lesson, especially since I used up a little bit of time with technical difficulties. So tonight I'm going to be real honest with you, and so that's why I have snuck away to the nursery, to Harlow's room, away from everybody, and I kicked Harlow out, so she's not in here. So I'm going to be honest with y'all tonight, and in return, what I'm going to ask of each of you that watch this is that you don't have to be honest with me back, but what I am asking is that you would be honest with yourself. And so in the past 10 weeks, and I think that's what it's been, 9 or 10 weeks that we have been in this pandemic, whatever situation, how have you been doing? And I know that I've checked in on a lot of you throughout this time and asked you this question. I got a whole lot of different responses, but how have you been doing? More importantly, how has your spiritual life been? And for this stuff, you don't, like I said, you don't have to put this stuff in the comments, but I do want you to think about it and be honest with yourself whenever you think about these questions. Now, are you still doing the things that you're supposed to be doing? And are you staying away from sin and the things that are bad for you? And then here's the big question. Is your relationship with God closer than it was before the pandemic? And I know some of you are thinking, Pastor BJ, there is no way that my relationship with God could be as good as it was before whenever I got to go to church 2 or 3 times every week. Well, there are ways, and it's something that I want you to think through as we get into this lesson tonight. And then another question is, do you feel depressed? And that may come in a lot of different forms, and we're going to talk just a little bit. That's not the point of the lesson tonight. We'll talk a little bit about that. And so, like I said, I'm going to be honest with you tonight, and so I'm going to talk through and answer some of those questions and just let you know kind of where I'm at. Maybe that'll help you be able to open up and be honest with yourself. And so I'll start off with the good. I can say that through this whole pandemic, I haven't missed a day where I didn't spend time with God praying and reading the Bible. So my Bible app and I have a 216-day streak right now. And so obviously I started it before the pandemic, and so far, thankfully, I haven't lost a streak through all this with spending time with God. And I know I really should be pushing you reading from an actual Bible, but I'll be honest, since that's what I said I was going to do, I do most of my daily reading just on my Bible app, and whenever I study, I'll either pull it up online where I can look at other sources and stuff. But it is great that I have an actual Bible, and I have a bunch of them. That's just out of convenience. That's what I do to spend my time there, and I'm good about tuning out distractions and stuff. And so that's the good. I didn't miss a day spending time with God, and so I did what I was supposed to do with that. However, I have noticed some things about myself, especially in the past couple of weeks. For one, I don't know if even anybody else in the house has picked up on this. I kind of hope they haven't, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have. But I found that lately I get angry more easily now. And I don't know if, that I've technically been depressed through this whole time, but it wouldn't surprise me if my lack of patience is a side effect of some sort of depression, just from my whole routine being messed up and not being around people and the situations that I'm used to and all that stuff. I'll be honest that sometimes it frustrates me that I see people struggling, but I feel like there's not really anything I can do about it since we aren't meeting in person. I feel like right now it's easy for people to not be honest with me whenever I ask how they're doing. And that's why I'm asking even right now for you to not necessarily be honest with me, but just be honest with yourself. While almost everyone nowadays, it seems like, wears a mask, nothing seems to be more real than the mask people wear when you ask how they're doing and they say everything is fine, even though you know that it's not. And so everyone that I'm trying to reach, just at this time, it seems like they're just out of reach. I know the church as a whole, going online in this season, we've been able to reach a lot more people, but it's just, you send it all out there and you don't see the results like you do whenever people come to church in person and you get to have those interactions and conversations and get to see the change in person. And so it's a season where you've got to just walk by faith. And I might just be talking to myself right now, but that's where I feel like I am right now, that I feel like the church is doing great things, and I know that's where I work and that's what I'm a part of, but it's like, am I really reaching anybody? You can't see the results and the fruit of that right now. And then in the middle of all this stuff, as a church, we started live streaming. And that's been an adventure because I went into this whole thing not knowing anything about live streaming. It's never even been something that I had to think of before. And now that's just routine for us. That's something that we've learned really quickly and picked up on, learned how to do. And so in this learning process, I watched a ton of online churches and youth groups. I've seen it all, from the best to the worst. And one of the hardest things about that process was trying not to judge, because there's churches out there, and a lot of you watch either their services or some of their clips. They've got state-of-the-art equipment. They've been live streaming for a long time. They know how to do this and do it well. And so whenever I would watch some of their stuff, I would just kind of feel, I don't know, kind of down on myself or inadequate. Like, there's no way that we could ever pull off something like that or do something that good. And then there's other churches and groups that I watched where, it's just somebody in poor lighting with an iPhone, trying to stream a devotion, and, you can't hear anything they're saying. And it's like, wow, almost feel sorry for the people, almost feel bad for watching, because I can't believe that's what they're putting out there to represent their churches and stuff. And I'd watch that and kind of feel like a professional with what I could do and all that stuff. And so just this wide range of emotions as I watched all these different kinds of services and what they can do. And what I didn't realize at first was, as I watched, I was judging them. And it didn't seem like it at first, but now that I look back on it, that's what I was doing. And then the words of Jesus from the Sermon on the Mount, they jumped out at me. So tonight we're going to pick up in Matthew chapter 7. And so this is towards the end of the Sermon on the Mount. In fact, we'll get to the last part of the Sermon on the Mount next week. And it's kind of strange because whenever we started this, we got 1 week into this before we weren't allowed to meet together anymore. And it was an 11-week-long series, and we thought this is going to be like, oh, we've never done an 11-week-long series before. But now here we are, at about week 10 or so in it, and we're almost at the end. And it's like, this has been a crazy 10 or 11 weeks. This is not at all how we planned this long series to go, but here we are. So if you have your Bibles, turn to Matthew chapter 7. If not, I will put it up on the screen right now. All right, he said this. This is Jesus talking. He said, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." And so, pretty harsh right there. Jesus just says, don't judge. Plain and simple, just like that. And let me just go on and tell you this. There's no way that I'd want someone critiquing the things that I do the same way that I critiqued some of those online groups that I watched. But I want to ask you this. How easy is it to judge? You look at somebody struggling and you question their life choices. Or you see your friend make a bad choice and immediately you have a thought, wow, that was stupid. I can't believe that they keep doing this stuff. Like, why can they not think through this stuff? That's just our natural response. In order to make ourselves feel better, we look down on others. But that's not what Jesus told us to do as followers of his. Look at this. Verse 3, it says, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." I hope none of y'all's toes are getting stepped on like mine are right now. And so I've got a great example of this. And so I remember 2 years ago, I think it was the year before last, 3 years, I don't know. My first year as a coach for the Valonia archery team. And so I came in. They've had the program going for a few years, so the students knew what they were doing. But I wanted to try to outshoot all the students and show them up and all that stuff. And so I remember we made it to state, and whenever we went to the state championship, we got there. We got to the convention center. We got checked in. All the students were standing around, and I remember when they were standing around talking, I could just sense, I could feel the pressure and tell how nervous all the students were getting, just standing around waiting on their turn to shoot. And so I could tell that. I could just feel the pressure that they were feeling. And so I started trying to calm them down. Like, hey, look, you've practiced. You know what to do. You're a great shot. Just go in here, do what you've always done, and we're going to do great today. Just don't even worry about it. Everything I knew to do to try to give them a pep talk. And so they got up there and they started trying to shoot. And I'm just going to tell you, compared to what they did in practice, they did terrible. Because they were just shooting all over the place. Students that normally hit like right in the bullseye every time were like hitting all over the target, or they shoot a bullseye and then they hit right on the top edge of the target. It's like, what is going on? You know what to do. And I'd try to talk to them in between times where they shot and calm them down and all that stuff, but nothing was getting through. And at the end of it, I was just like, I don't get it. You know how to do this stuff. Why is it not getting through to y'all? And so I was questioning everything until something happened that caught me off guard. Right before they gave out the trophies and everything, they announced, and I didn't know this was going to happen, they announced that there was going to be a coach's shoot. And so I thought, okay, here's my chance to show these students up, to show them that this is no different than practice and that they just let the pressure get to the best of them. And so I remember it was our turn to walk up there and shoot, and as I walked up, I could just feel the nerves starting, and I could feel my hands getting sweaty and my arms shaking and getting tense. And then whenever I walked up there and held the bow, it didn't feel comfortable like it normally did. And I thought, uh-oh, here we go. I went to shoot. I did everything just like I did in practice. Everything was exactly the same. And I was hitting all over the target. It turns out, and I didn't realize this until after that your nerves really do play a huge factor in how you shoot a bow and arrow whenever you shoot in a competition like that. Like how tense you hold the bow is going to affect where the arrow hits. And I didn't learn that lesson until I was in front of everybody trying to show the students the right way to do stuff. And I was like, man, I feel like such a hypocrite because I can't even do what I was trying to coach them to do. And it made me feel so bad. But after that, I felt like I owed the whole team an apology. I learned that nerves and tension do play a huge role in how you shoot, and it was a humbling experience to me that taught me to try to not coach students when I haven't been in that position before. But how many times do we do that to each other? How many times have you given someone advice, but you had no idea what their life was really like? And I'm not saying that it's wrong to try to help somebody else out, because we all know that that's a good thing to do. But before you go out of your way to criticize them, take a look in the mirror and make sure that your own life is in order first before you go try to fix somebody else. Jesus goes on to say, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." It's saying it's not as easy as the wide gate. And this isn't easy because we see criticism and we see judging as such a normal part of our lives nowadays. There are people out there, and I know all of you know some, who have made it their duty to try to put people in their place. I mean, we even see TV shows where there's people that just critique and criticize other people and just put other people down, and people love watching it, and that's why it's on TV. But you aren't called to that standard. You're called to a higher standard. You see, Jesus didn't just follow the crowd whenever he walked here on earth. Instead, he went against what was normal. And I want you to look what happened to Jesus. He was mocked, he was beaten, and eventually killed. But he also changed the world forever and did something that no other person on earth has ever been able to do. He provided a way for salvation. It wasn't easy, but it was the right thing to do. So in the next part of the message, Jesus tells us one of the scariest parts of the Bible. It says, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles?' Then I will tell them plainly, 'I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers.'" How scary is that? And it doesn't say people that lived terrible lives that knew they weren't going to make it to heaven, but it says there's going to be a lot of people who will stand before God on that day and say, "Didn't we do all the right things?" Can you imagine one day standing before God, thinking that you were a good enough person, and then hearing him say, "I never knew you"? The tempting part here is to think, man, I know somebody that needs to hear this right now. I hope that they're watching this message tonight because this is for them. But I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you. This message is for you. And so let me ask you again. How are you doing? How is your relationship with God? I'm not asking if things feel good right now. I'm asking if your relationship with God is real. Do you know God? And more importantly, does he know you? Have you allowed God to really know you? Have you let him into your life and into your heart? Jesus reminds us how important this is. It's not a game, and it's not something to just blow off. And whenever you stand before God, that's it. Your time on earth could be up at any moment. We don't know how much longer we have, and so please don't take this lightly. If we were together right now, I'd have us all find a place where we can get alone, where we can remove distractions and spend some time doing some soul searching. But even though we're not all here together in person right now, I'm still gonna ask you to do that. So for the next couple minutes, if you will, I'm gonna play some music and have a video with some of these scriptures, just kind of going through it again. And for the next 3 minutes, wherever you're at, this is something that's too serious to take lightly. And so if you would spend just a few moments analyzing your relationship with God, and just asking God to reveal anything that's not pleasing to him, and just make sure that your relationship is where it's supposed to be. Lord, would you search our hearts right now and reveal to us if there's anything that is displeasing to you. God, would you show us if there's anything that, God, that we need to get out of our lives, anything that we need to, God, just anything that's holding us back from being all that you've called us to be and accomplishing everything that you have for us. God, we thank you for this time that we get to spend together, and we ask that you would help us to stay close to you no matter what. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Well, I want to let you know that I have enjoyed spending time with each of you, and I don't know that I could go on another week like this. And that reminds me that I have a big announcement that I'm supposed to be making to you right now. That's right. Okay, and so, you know what? How about let's do this? How about let's make this our last time meeting together online only? What about that? I think it's time we start going back to Chaos in person. Y'all down for that? So, okay. One more time. Should I stay or should I go? Would you come back to Chaos in person for service if that meant that you still had to stay 6 feet apart from people, but you could still have church together? What do y'all say to that? Anybody down for that? You can sign me up for that. So here's what we'll do. We'll be posting a lot more about this in the next week, and so check GroupMe, check social media, all that stuff. So here's what we're going to do. Starting next week, we're going to follow social distancing guidelines and all that stuff, and we'll spell out what all that means. But starting next week, Chaos is back in person. You don't have to register or anything like that. Just show up. So here's what we're going to do. If you're here coming to service to attend, we'll still start service at 6:45 like we did, but we're not going to open the doors for people to come in until 6:30 because we can't really hang out in a group and all that stuff. And so at 6:30, we'll open the doors. That's 15 minutes before service starts. You can walk in and find your seats. Like I said, they'll be spread apart, and go straight to your seat, sit down, wait on service to start. We'll start service, and then whenever service is over, we'll dismiss you one student at a time. You're not going to be allowed to, after service, to hang out inside the building, but if you want to hang out outside and the weather's nice and all that stuff, you're more than welcome to do that. And there may be some other things that come up that we tell you about, but the good news is that Chaos is back. We're excited to see what this new chapter looks like moving ahead. But thank you so much for joining us on here tonight, so we can celebrate in a couple of minutes on Zoom. And so if you need the code, the meeting ID, or the password or anything, let me know and I can get that to you. But thank you so much for joining us for hopefully our last ever, no offense, but hopefully our last ever Chaos online only service. Hope you have a great rest of your